When we think of information systems, we tend to picture servers, routers, and code. But raw technology is inherently chaotic. To make it functional for a business, you have to force order onto that digital chaos. That structure comes directly from governance. In his 2024 textbook, Information Technology Policy and Strategy, Professor Boateng outlines a foundational equation. IT consists strictly of hardware, software, and networks. But information systems, IS, is broader, merging that technology with people, processes, and business policies. Policies act as the governing mechanisms holding this equation together. They dictate acceptable behavior, forcing the technological and human elements to align. These policies function as architectural blueprints. They provide employees with clear boundaries and empower them to execute structural business objectives. General organizational policies operate at the macro level.
While they are drafted as broad business mandates, they consistently dictate how IT management must operate. We can observe this dynamic by looking at the policy structure of a financial institution like Highland Bank. This document outlines their consumer privacy mandates. Notice the section detailing their do not call policy. On the surface, this is simply a marketing regulation. However, enforcing it requires IT to develop, maintain, and secure a centralized exclusion database for marketing communications. A chief technology officer has to account for these indirect effects. The architecture they build is directly shaped by rules drafted outside their department. An IT department cannot operate in a technical vacuum. In many cases, it must construct infrastructure solely to fulfill macro-level corporate promises. While macro policies dictate broad objectives, an organization still requires highly specific technical defense frameworks to secure the resulting data. The SANS Security Policy Project addresses this need. It is a consensus-driven resource that provides standardized templates, allowing enterprises to rapidly deploy security protocols. This schematic represents the SANS framework, which categorizes digital security into 4 core architectural pillars. The first pillar covers general enterprise-wide rules, establishing standard operating procedures like acceptable use policies and data breach response plans. The second is network security, focusing on securing data in transit, establishing rigid wireless standards, and regulating remote access. Pillar 3 addresses server security. Here, the focus shifts to protecting back-end infrastructure, defining database credentials, and outlining proper equipment disposal. The final pillar is application security, which deals exclusively with protecting front-end user interfaces, particularly web applications. What the SANS framework demonstrates is that corporate security is inherently compartmentalized. No single policy protects a firm. Defense relies entirely on these overlapping architectural pillars working together. But you can build the most secure server infrastructure possible, and it still leaves the most vulnerable variable unaddressed: the human end user. To see how organizations manage user behavior, we can examine Western Michigan University's Rule 08EM.01, which governs official academic email communication. The rule strictly prohibits conducting official business through external accounts like Gmail or Yahoo. Forcing all communication through the university system ensures that every interaction remains auditable and secure. Standard password policies perform a similar function. They mandate complexity criteria to prevent unauthorized individuals from easily bypassing the network defenses outlined in the SANS framework. To enforce these rules, organizations utilize an Employee Information and Technology Security Agreement. This agreement acts as the formal, legally binding acknowledgement. It directly connects the human employee to the technical requirements of the network. The most robust server infrastructure in the world is functionally useless if human behavior isn't explicitly bound by these enforceable user agreements. The perimeter of a network faces constant pressure. External, unverified hardware introduces security chaos that must be heavily filtered before accessing the secure corporate network. This is managed through Bring Your Own Device, or BYOD policies. Company XYZ's template, for example, establishes clear rules for managing personal smartphones and tablets in the workplace. A complete BYOD program requires 3 critical components: software to manage the connecting devices, a written policy outlining employer and user responsibilities, and a signed agreement acknowledging those rules. Similar strictures apply to general network connection policies. Brown University mandates that all connected devices must run updated antivirus software and install the most recent security patches immediately. But organizations must also plan for when preventative measures fail, relying on reactive frameworks like ID theft and data breach response programs used by financial institutions. These breach policies establish an internal reporting process. Their purpose is to assess the exact scope of the compromised data and ensure the proper disposal of sensitive consumer information. Finally, web publishing and social media guidelines restrict access at the public interface. They explicitly authorize exactly who is allowed to alter the firm's outward-facing digital assets. Ultimately, these edge policies act as a strict operational filter. They allow a business to utilize modern flexibilities, like personal smartphones, without compromising the rigid integrity of the core network. We have looked at a wide spectrum of governance, spanning from the macro business mandates at Highland Bank down to the micro email rules at Western Michigan University. To implement all of these effectively, an organization classifies them into a strict hierarchy of governing mechanisms. At the top is policy. This is the highest governing mechanism, strictly dictating what is or is not done. Below that is strategy. This defines the specific methodology the organization will utilize to achieve the objectives set by the policy. Next are standards. These are highly specific, mandatory tactical rules, such as Brown University's strict antivirus patch requirements. At the base are guidelines, which function as non-mandatory advisory best practice statements. This hierarchy directly maps onto the organizational management structure. Standard rules and their tactical implementation are primarily developed and executed at the middle management level. However, the actual overarching policies only come into effect after top or senior management provides explicit authorization. Ultimately, IT policies serve as the supreme boundaries of acceptable behavior. They are engineered by executive leadership to establish order, protect data, and advance the business objectives of the modern enterprise.
When we think of information systems, we tend to picture servers, routers, and code. But raw technology is inherently chaotic. To make it functional for a business, you have to force order onto that digital chaos. That structure comes directly from governance. In his 2024 textbook, Information Technology Policy and Strategy, Professor Boateng outlines a foundational equation. IT consists strictly of hardware, software, and networks, but information systems, IS, is broader, merging that technology with people, processes, and business policies. Policies act as the governing mechanisms holding this equation together. They dictate acceptable behavior, forcing the technological and human elements to align. These policies function as architectural blueprints. They provide employees with clear boundaries and empower them to execute structural business objectives. General organizational policies operate at the macro level.
While they are drafted as broad business mandates, they consistently dictate how IT management must operate. We can observe this dynamic by looking at the policy structure of a financial institution like Highland Bank. This document outlines their consumer privacy mandates. Notice the section detailing their do not call policy. On the surface, this is simply a marketing regulation. However, enforcing it requires IT to develop, maintain, and secure a centralized exclusion database for marketing communications. A chief technology officer has to account for these indirect effects. The architecture they build is directly shaped by rules drafted outside their department. An IT department cannot operate in a technical vacuum. In many cases, it must construct infrastructure solely to fulfill macro-level corporate promises. While macro policies dictate broad objectives, an organization still requires highly specific technical defense frameworks to secure the resulting data. The SANS Security Policy Project addresses this need. It is a consensus-driven resource that provides standardized templates, allowing enterprises to rapidly deploy security protocols. This schematic represents the SANS framework, which categorizes digital security into 4 core architectural pillars. The first pillar covers general enterprise-wide rules, establishing standard operating procedures like acceptable use policies and data breach response plans. The second is network security, focusing on securing data in transit, establishing rigid wireless standards, and regulating remote access. Pillar 3 addresses server security. Here, the focus shifts to protecting back-end infrastructure, defining database credentials, and outlining proper equipment disposal. The final pillar is application security,
which deals exclusively with protecting front-end user interfaces, particularly web applications. What the SANS framework demonstrates is that corporate security is inherently compartmentalized. No single policy protects a firm. Defense relies entirely on these overlapping architectural pillars working together. But you can build the most secure server infrastructure possible, and it still leaves the most vulnerable variable unaddressed: the human end user. To see how organizations manage user behavior, we can examine Western Michigan University's Rule 08EM.01, which governs official academic email communication. The rule strictly prohibits conducting official business through external accounts like Gmail or Yahoo. Forcing all communication through the university system ensures that every interaction remains auditable and secure. Standard password policies perform a similar function. They mandate complexity criteria to prevent unauthorized individuals from easily bypassing the network defenses outlined in the SANS framework. To enforce these rules, organizations utilize an Employee Information and Technology Security Agreement. This agreement acts as the formal, legally binding acknowledgement. It directly connects the human employee to the technical requirements of the network. The most robust server infrastructure in the world is functionally useless if human behavior isn't explicitly bound by these enforceable user agreements. The perimeter of a network faces constant pressure. External, unverified hardware introduces security chaos that must be heavily filtered before accessing the secure corporate network. This is managed through Bring Your Own Device, or BYOD policies. Company XYZ's template, for example, establishes clear rules for managing personal smartphones and tablets in the workplace. A complete BYOD program requires 3 critical components: software to manage the connecting devices, a written policy outlining employer and user responsibilities, and a signed agreement acknowledging those rules. Similar strictures apply to general network connection policies. Brown University mandates that all connected devices must run updated antivirus software and install the most recent security patches immediately. But organizations must also plan for when preventative measures fail, relying on reactive frameworks like ID theft and data breach response programs used by financial institutions. These breach policies establish an internal reporting process. Their purpose is to assess the exact scope of the compromised data and ensure the proper disposal of sensitive consumer information. Finally, web publishing and social media guidelines restrict access at the public interface. They explicitly authorize exactly who is allowed to alter the firm's outward-facing digital assets. Ultimately, these edge policies act as a strict operational filter. They allow a business to utilize modern flexibilities, like personal smartphones, without compromising the rigid integrity of the core network. We have looked at a wide spectrum of governance, spanning from the macro business mandates at Highland Bank down to the micro email rules at Western Michigan University. To implement all of these effectively, an organization classifies them into a strict hierarchy of governing mechanisms. At the top is policy. This is the highest governing mechanism, strictly dictating what is or is not done. Below that is strategy. This defines the specific methodology the organization will utilize to achieve the objectives set by the policy. Next are standards. These are highly specific, mandatory tactical rules, such as Brown University's strict antivirus patch requirements. At the base are guidelines, which function as non-mandatory advisory best practice statements. This hierarchy directly maps onto the organizational management structure. Standard rules and their tactical implementation are primarily developed and executed at the middle management level. However, the actual overarching policies only come into effect after top or senior management provides explicit authorization. Ultimately, IT policies serve as the supreme boundaries of acceptable behavior. They are engineered by executive leadership to establish order, protect data, and advance the business objectives of the modern enterprise.
Good morning, class. You are welcome back again to IT policy and strategies. Before we get in, I've been playing a video. Some of you just came in, so you have not watched it. This is what summarizes what we are doing today. So I'll play it for the last time. I want you to make notes so that when I'm going through the session, you can ask questions. We practiced it yesterday and it worked very well. So This the last time I'm playing, make notes, questions you may have, so that when we are going through different policies and stuff, we could actually make it more contextually relevant to what we are doing. So this is the last time I'm playing it. Thank you.
When we think of information systems, we tend to picture servers, routers, and code. But raw technology is inherently chaotic. To make it functional for a business, you have to force order onto that digital chaos. That structure comes directly from governance. In his 2024 textbook, Information Technology Policy and Strategy, Professor Boateng outlines a foundational equation. IT consists strictly of hardware, software, and networks, but information systems, IS, is broader, merging that technology with people, processes, and business policies. Policies act as the governing mechanisms holding this equation together. They dictate acceptable behavior, forcing the technological and human elements to align. These policies function as architectural blueprints. They provide employees with clear boundaries and empower them to execute structural business objectives. General organizational policies operate at the macro level.
While they are drafted as broad business mandates, they consistently dictate how IT management must operate. We can observe this dynamic by looking at the policy structure of a financial institution like Highland Bank. This document outlines their consumer privacy mandates. Notice the section detailing their do not call policy. On the surface, this is simply a marketing regulation. However, enforcing it requires IT to develop, maintain, and secure a centralized exclusion database for marketing communications. A chief technology officer has to account for these indirect effects. The architecture they build is directly shaped by rules drafted outside their department. An IT department cannot operate in a technical vacuum. In many cases, it must construct infrastructure solely to fulfill macro-level corporate promises. While macro policies dictate broad objectives, an organization still requires highly specific technical defense frameworks to secure the resulting data. The SANS Security Policy Project addresses this need. It is a consensus-driven resource that provides standardized templates, allowing enterprises to rapidly deploy security protocols. This schematic represents the SANS framework, which categorizes digital security into 4 core architectural pillars. The first pillar covers general enterprise-wide rules, establishing standard operating procedures like acceptable use policies and data breach response plans. The second is network security, focusing on securing data in transit, establishing rigid wireless standards, and regulating remote access. Pillar 3 addresses server security. Here, the focus shifts to protecting back-end infrastructure, defining database credentials, and outlining proper equipment disposal. The final pillar is application security, which deals exclusively with protecting front-end user interfaces, particularly web applications. What the SANS framework demonstrates is that corporate security is inherently compartmentalized. No single policy protects a firm. Defense relies entirely on these overlapping architectural pillars working together. But you can build the most secure server infrastructure possible, and it still leaves the most vulnerable variable unaddressed: the human end user. To see how organizations manage user behavior, we can examine Western Michigan University's Rule 08EM.01, which governs official academic email communication. The rule strictly prohibits conducting official business through external accounts like Gmail or Yahoo. Forcing all communication through the university system ensures that every interaction remains auditable and secure. Standard password policies perform a similar function. They mandate complexity criteria to prevent unauthorized individuals from easily bypassing the network defenses outlined in the SANS framework. To enforce these rules, organizations utilize an Employee Information and Technology Security Agreement. This agreement acts as the formal, legally binding acknowledgement. It directly connects the human employee to the technical requirements of the network. The most robust server infrastructure in the world is functionally useless if human behavior isn't explicitly bound by these enforceable user agreements. The perimeter of a network faces constant pressure. External, unverified hardware introduces security chaos that must be heavily filtered before accessing the secure corporate network. This is managed through Bring Your Own Device, or BYOD policies. Company XYZ's template, for example, establishes clear rules for managing personal smartphones and tablets in the workplace. A complete BYOD program requires 3 critical components: software to manage the connecting devices, a written policy outlining employer and user responsibilities,
and a signed agreement acknowledging those rules. Similar strictures apply to general network connection policies. Brown University mandates that all connected devices must run updated antivirus software and install the most recent security patches immediately. But organizations must also plan for when preventative measures fail, relying on reactive frameworks like ID theft and data breach response programs used by financial institutions. These breach policies establish an internal reporting process. Their purpose is to assess the exact scope of the compromised data and ensure the proper disposal of sensitive consumer information. Finally, web publishing and social media guidelines restrict access at the public interface. They explicitly authorize exactly who is allowed to alter the firm's outward-facing digital assets. Ultimately, these edge policies act as a strict operational filter. They allow a business to utilize modern flexibilities, like personal smartphones, without compromising the rigid integrity of the core network. We have looked at a wide spectrum of governance, spanning from the macro business mandates at Highland Bank down to the micro email rules at Western Michigan University. To implement all of these effectively, an organization classifies them into a strict hierarchy of governing mechanisms. At the top is policy. This is the highest governing mechanism, strictly dictating what is or is not done. Below that is strategy. This defines the specific methodology the organization will utilize to achieve the objectives set by the policy. Next are standards. These are highly specific, mandatory tactical rules, such as Brown University's strict antivirus patch requirements. At the base are guidelines, which function as non-mandatory advisory best practice statements. This hierarchy directly maps onto the organizational management structure. Standard rules and their tactical implementation are primarily developed and executed at the middle management level. However, the actual overarching policies only come into effect after top or senior management provides explicit authorization. Ultimately, IT policies serve as the supreme boundaries of acceptable behavior. They are engineered by executive leadership to establish order, protect data, and advance the business objectives of the modern enterprise. When we think of information systems, we tend to picture servers, routers, and code.
Hi, Seb.
Hello. Now we can start our lecture. Does anybody have initial questions before we start? Ooh. Good morning. Are you all here?
Good
Morning,
morning,
bro.
sir. Yes, sir.
I was saying, does anybody have any initial questions before we start? If not, then I'll just go ahead. Mm. Okay, so thank you very much. Once again, we are meeting here to discuss IT policy and strategy. Our objective today is to delve into some of the things that can influence policies in organizations, especially with the different types of functional areas that we have in the organization, what we need to be able to protect. So we'll look at examples of different frameworks, different IT policies to be able to have an understanding of how far organizations go. And some of them are some policies that you yourself you have come across in your own institution. So it will not be, some of them will not be strange to you. Some of you may have similar policies in your organization that you tend to follow. So that's what we'll be doing today. This takes us to chapter 2 of our text. Please, currently, if you want a copy of the book, you could actually IT policy and strategy. You could go to the bookshop and pick a copy. There is in the Legon bookshop on campus, University of Ghana campus, near BAM Library. You could pick a copy from there. Or if you have a friend from the previous program, previous year, who has a copy, maybe you can pick it up. We are using the 2024, and that's the second edition. It was published in 2024. It's not um it's not that it's not anything different from it's actually the same thing that we are using since last year. So if you have a copy from a friend, it's also convenient. Okay. So what we are doing today is to delve into what examples we can learn from. The last session, we tried to understand what a policy is, what a standard is, what a procedure is. We also look at what guidelines are. We talked about strategy, the methodology that achieves the policy, what the policy prescribes. Today, what we will do will be a little bit different. Our objective will be delving into policy categories, looking at some from the financial sector, looking at a template library, and then anatomy of some of the real policies, actually delving into some of the policies, and then distilling what every policy contains. When you have the book, you realize that there are a lot of working assignments in it. This is supposed to help you understand what you are reading, but because you all don't have copies, we can't do much of that. But hopefully, maybe later on, when you have enough, you are maybe get a copy. Maybe we could look into doing that. So let's delve into the types of policies that we may see in organizations. Um, I think one thing that we all conversant with is the use of web applications. So some of us in our institutions, we may come across a web application such as a policy that is governs a web application like email. We may see social media. Some of you may see deliberate web policies or web publishing policies, network policies, identity policies, security policies, and bring your device policy. Now, this is that from the Western Michigan University. They have quite a good broad set of categories of policies: identity protection, miscellaneous, copyright, and then academic applications. I'll be very happy if you could look at them. You can go online and check some of them. So I'm going to put a link there so that you can be able to go online and see if you can um, get conversant with some of their policies. So um, good. So I'm just going to drop the link in the chat room here. Please open it right now, and then let's go there. Take one of their policies and go through it and see um what will fascinate you. What kind of policies that you see that there are different categories. So click on any of the categories and then open any of the policies to see what you can learn from them. I'm going to open, I'm going to show the screen that or what you to show you. So when you open the websites, it will give you they call standard a rule. So similar to policy, they intend to prescribe operation definitions and constraints of the use of computing resources. Those are standard. Then guidelines and procedures. So categories of policies are copyright, email, information security, miscellaneous, network, and internet and web. So click on any of them. I'm not going to do that. We are doing an interactive class. So click on it, Victor, click on any of them and go into it. I'll ask after about a minute or two, I'll ask what fascinates you in some of the policies. So please don't go to what is of interest to you. If miscellaneous is of interest to you, go and check what is there. If information security is of interest, web is of interest, email is of interest, go and check what is there. So click on it and then delve in. Okay, the web services and standards. Oh, okay. You have to log in before you can access this one. See email. Okay, email policies. Okay, mailing list. Okay. So please, Baumini, Tahiru, Bernard Kwiku Fosu, all of you go into Conrad, go into the platform and check the policies that of interest to you. Elsie, I say, Redeemer, Richard Odro, Victor, Daniel, delve in and see what's of interest to you. Some of them you have to log on, so you don't have a login. You're not a member of the university, so don't be so. When you find that there's a login barrier, you go back and choose another one. So what kind of, which of the policies is fascinating to you? Yes. Okay, so who want to share what you are seeing and so fascinating to you? Yes. Andrew, Adani, have you opened any of them? So, what's of interest to you? Or what
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Yes, good morning, everyone. So I'm looking at the data access policies, and as
Data
opposed,
access.
yeah,
Did
that's
you say
under
data access?
yes, data access.
It's under millennials or when?
No, it's under information technology.
Okay. Information
Yes,
security.
yes, please.
Okay. Continue.
Well, with as opposed to what I currently work with within my organization, um, they are talking about how to confidential information, the triad, that's the confidentiality, information, and accessibility. But there's also a
Yes.
policy, sub policy under that. And even talking about, well, security, social security. But why would that be under? Uh,
Which of them are you asking why will it be here? Social security number policy. But the US they use social security numbers a lot. That's your identification actually. It's like your Ghana card.
well, you see, because like it's a how do I say it? An organization that's maybe a workplace organization. I assume maybe that will not be found.
No, it is there. Our organizations use that. That's your identity. When you are, it's like now that you go to any place, they ask for your Ghana card information. They do that, but just that yes, they only ask for the last 4 digits. You can't ask for the full thing.
As
You only
opposed,
ask for
okay,
the last 4 digits. Yeah, and it has to be maxed. So look at it. It said that social security number field in SIS, that the student information system, should also known as the banner is max. You see, it has been max. Only
yeah,
person who need access to this field as a function of their duty. So, like if you're getting grants for tax purposes, you have to be able to do that. If they are paying you, are a student who is on one of their grants and they are paying you, they have to do the deductions. And there are quite a lot of reasons why they use that one. If they want to link your information, even your high school information, you can use that one to track where you went to high school. So many stuff. Okay, as a function of the duties as granted access, the policy document is found in the policy procedures manual, you see, section 21, and explains responsibilities in detail. So yeah, we are looking at just the summaries, not the actual stuff.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So if you click on it, you can go into the actual policy that is there. Now, what it's doing is that it is referencing other policies, which is common with many policies. I think last time I was showing you that even e-learning policies can reference a plagiarism policy. It doesn't need to discuss every time plagiarism in the e-learning policy. It will just tell you that students have to adhere to the plagiarism policy of the University of Ghana, and then it will be part of its reference policies in it. It will also reference the sexual harassment policy. So that means that if you're online, certain behaviors of students has to be well regulated so that they don't become cyberbullies. all these things will not necessarily be an e-learning policy, but they will reference it and tell you that for this and this issue, students must abide by the sexual harassment policy of the institution, something like that. So in this particular scenario, they even give you a page number, the one we just read, or the section number where to look into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's good. A good observation. Yes. Any other person, preferably a lady. Let's see. Franklina is here. Geraldine, Nanaya, okay, Nanaya. What have you checked? Nanaya. Oh, you're not with us. Mod.
Yes,
Redeemer,
sir.
when we call
Please, good
people and they
morning.
don't mind us, put -1 there.
Good
So that
morning. So I checked the policy on information security, and it has cloud computing rules, credential management rule, data access policy, and data classification policy. There are quite a lot over there. Please, can you hear me?
we didn't hear the beginning. So you said you are looking at where?
Yes. So I'm saying that I checked information security
Oh, okay.
space,
That's
and
where we
under
actually been looking at. Okay.
it has cloud computing rules, credential
Yes.
management rule, data access policy,
So
data
what
class.
fascinates you? What is surprising to you?
Maybe cloud computing rules.
Oh, okay. So usually if that's the case, you open it and see what they'll say there.
Yes, please.
There's a
So
purpose,
for
there's a scope and definition. Look at the structure,
yes, please.
the rules and acquired procedures, intellectual
Yes, please.
property and copyright, privacy and data security, and other
Yes,
requirements.
yes, please.
Students and faculty and students and staff may not speak to the university. Hey, what I'm actually listening to the requirements are intended to assist units to evaluating their prudence and feasibility of leveraging cloud computing services. Okay, many of these services typically include click to accept agreements, which have not been reviewed and approved by the office. Okay. May not speak for the university. Okay. I understand it now. Okay. So that is that one. Okay, that's interesting. Yes, any other one?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Please, this is Nana. Sorry, I couldn't unmute at the moment.
Okay.
Please, I was looking at copyright and ethics.
Copyright and ethics.
Yes, please.
It's under the first one.
Uh,
Okay.
yes, please. And
Which
then
of them did you go into?
copyright and legal information use.
Okay, they have a whole website on copyright issues. It's
Yes,
linked to it's linked to the library. It's not
yes,
surprising.
yes, please,
Okay.
sir.
Just like how the University of Ghana's e-learning policy has issues about photocopy. Copyright guidelines for course reserves. Okay, if you are reserving a book, okay. Okay, university libraries will seek copyright clearance for reserved materials that exceed the fair use guidelines. Fair use, the one I was telling you, that 3% or 3 pages.
Yeah, yes, please, sir. You said that last.
Yes. Then copyright and fair use for their Stanford University libraries. Okay, Stanford has their own one. This is a collection of charts and tools that provide helpful guidance on copyright issues, including fair use, classroom use. Oh, okay, there's something called classroom use. Okay, digital images. Then we are far behind. Then Copyright Clearance Center. Site is used to request permission to reproduce, okay, to photocopy, okay, copyright material such as not just photocopy, but to use it in case you are doing a commercial report and
Yes,
you want to put it in your work. And if the person has put copyright and you cannot use it, this is where you request for the person to give you grant access, or the university go and see whoever it is to want to grant access to use their figure or table in your work. We will just pick things from people's work and put it in our long essays, but we don't realize that in some institutions, if the person has restricted the information, you need to actually request for it, and an office is set up for it, such as the figures, the articles, the book chapters in photocopies. and derivative works such as publications like if you course pack and marketing material, websites, and more. So currently, what's happening? Some of the publishers are doing. I saw it in University of Development Studies. So the university can actually go and talk to, let's say, Sage Publications that I'm teaching as research methods, but there are 6 textbooks from your collection you are using. Can you put chapter one from textbook A, chapter two for textbook three B, chapter four from textbook C, and put it together as a book for us to use for teaching? They do that. I didn't even know that until I saw a copy of a book called Research Methods in UDS, in which they had actually brought it from different textbooks, and the publisher's name was that this is solely produced on request for UDS. So if a publisher has that kind of flexibility, that means they have to go through their copyright request. You need to be able to let them do such a thing for you. Yeah.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay. Interesting perspectives. Okay. So let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm very happy of the different perspectives that people shared. So let's go back to what we're doing. So we have seen that of WMU. But WMU is not the only institution. Other institutions like University of California have different types of policies. But yes, what is interesting is that the scope, they try to define a scope for the policy and they tell you either system wide or other things. So let me just show you an example. So I'm drawing from the book. So look at this, for example, as an example. Exhibit 6, system-wide IT policies and guidelines, University of California. So look at SAN electronic communications, the electronic communication policy,
Hello, Prof.
applicable system-wide. Yes,
Hello,
please.
Prof. Yes, please. We
Yes.
can't see anything. There's a black screen covering the text.
Really?
Yes, please.
There's nothing on my screen. There's nothing covering it. I'm actually sharing. Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it better now?
Yes, Prof.
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Thank you. I maybe just taking time to load. Earlier there was something here. Sorry, maybe it was taking time to load. So we
Yes.
have got legislative and other guidance like
Prof is gone again.
ah. Is it better?
No. It's
Wow. Okay, let me stop sharing that entirely. Yeah. Let me stop sharing entirely. Maybe I'm sharing multiple. So is somebody also sharing something? So maybe because it could be that somebody's sharing. Okay. I'm going to try it again. Please check for me. I want to change the application I used to open the file. Okay, now let me see what I to work. Um, hmm. Is it working?
Yes,
Yes,
Prof.
Prof.
It's working.
Yes.
Is it going again?
No, Prof.
No.
No,
Okay.
Prof.
No, I think I know. I close all the documents and open only one file. Okay, thank you. So they have a policy that says system wide. If you look at it, applicable system wide, and the applicable there is telling you the scope. Who does it apply to? So you see that they have it there: records management and privacy, applicable system wide. Protection of personal information, applicable system wide. Yeah. Then they also have ABCs of privacy and public records, and then they have websites privacy policies and guidance provided by the Office of General Counsel on the California Online Protection Privacy Protection Act. That's the COPA. Later on, I'll explain something to you. In some countries, the policies are state based, and then there's federal based. Ghana, for example, we don't have independent policies for every region, but we have policies that is at the state level. Like Ghana state is universal, the country national level, good. But in the US, you can have state level policies. So, like the California um, has their own policy, and if you are working in California, it will apply to you. Then they have federal level policies, which is much more about the whole US or the whole United States of America. Good. So you have to always know where it is applies to. Even sometimes in the state, some of them may be applying to a particular borough of the state, maybe a particular town in the state. So all of these things play a very key role because of the fact that there's a lot of jurisdictions, divisions in terms of legalities, and then there are also certain types of activities that are permissible in certain states but not permissible in other states. So that means that even in technology, there'll be other type of technology policies that will be permissible applied to a state and not applied to another state. Okay. But I'm not surprised that California themselves have a online privacy protection act because of the kind of people who live in California and the activities that go. They have in Hollywood, going through all these other type of big businesses that are there. So privacy issues matters to them a lot. Okay. In the same way, University of California has different policies for different campuses. That's what I was talking about earlier. That you can have units that have different policies. For example, Berkeley, Davis, Ivan, Lawrence, Lawrence Berkeley, National Lab, Los Angeles. All of them may have certain type of policy. Even though there are campus-wide policies, they may have um, um, the university-wide policies. They may have campuses that have their own policies. It affects a broad range of campus community, either because of its general interest or applicability, or because one control unit establishes a set of principles and procedures that other control units must abide by. It coordinates the compliance with applicable laws and regulations across units. So, University of Ghana, for example, let me just use that one. It's possible that there will be a policy that will govern certain things in Noguchi, but not in business school. Why? Because Noguchi, as a research center, may have certain servers and then maybe AI applications to be able to do that genome type of research, which University of Ghana with business school, we don't even engage in that. So we don't even have equipment to that kind of threshold. So certain policies will be found in Noguchi that will not necessarily apply to business school. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize here as the differences that will occur. In the same way, even if you look at Accra City campus and then and Legon campus, the state of infrastructure is much more of a higher end in Legon campus than Accra City campus. It can be because of budgeting issues and the type of people who do research and teach in these two different units. And the target audience of their clientele, target audience for the programs run there. So you could have certain policies that are applicable to here, but not applicable there. Then they also have policies which are specific to the office of the president of the university, like vice chancellor's office, which I found to be quite fascinating. So there's acceptable use of office of the president electronic information systems, and it applies only to the office of the president. There's user agreement form, there's use of email, access without consent form, access with consent form, requesting access to an employee's email or attachment of computer files, and then certain security requirements which apply to only the network devices at or found with the office of the president. Then there are terms and conditions for the use of University of California Office of the President data network services. Now, this is somebody asking now, terms and conditions, is it a policy or not? Now, at this level, terms and conditions are rules, so they are, we call them standards. Standards. Okay. Okay, so we can't do the exercise because most of you don't have the book, but let's continue. Okay. So there is also policies related to banking sector. Remember in the video you're watching, it talked about Highland Bank. Highland Bank has different types of policies, and they have been summarized in information security policy, ID theft policy, privacy statement, and this is what it was interesting with. Do not call policy, which is for the marketing department. The ability for them to protect the privacy of consumers who can opt for do not call me, do not send me marketing material or promotional materials. Okay. So the do not call policy is for the marketing unit activities. However, it's an indirect IT policy. So it may not necessarily be under the IT department to be called an IT policy, but it's governing the activities of people in the marketing department. For example, they need to create a database and have the email addresses of people and address and maybe physical addresses of all the people who are opting for do not call policy. So that when they are sending any marketing paraphernalia out or advert out, they will check that list before they will do that. They will send it out. Now, this could be an automated process, which is collaboration between marketing and IT to get it done. Okay. So it may, as it's not a technical policy from its onset, it may be a related or an implied one that they may need to do so that they can work together to make sure that the service is seamless. Okay. Anybody having a question on this one? Then, if not, I'm going to the next one. Now, this is another one from another financial institution called Community Bank University. Now, they have the e-sign act policy. The e-sign act policy gives validation to electronic records and their signatures for transactions. In Ghana, the policy that gives us validation for electronic communications with relation to signatures is the Electronic Transactions Act. If you have not heard about it before, you can search for Electronic Transaction Act 772. So if you go to NITE's website and you open it, it will take you directly to that page. And it actually talks about the validity of electronic records, signatures, everything's inside. Signing of electronic record number 12. So let's check that one. So first of all, say 10 digital signature. Where a law requires the signature of a person, that requirement is deemed to be satisfied in relation to electronic record if a digital signature is used. A digital signature is deemed to be authentic if the means of creating a digital signature is within the context in which it is used, linked to the signatory and not another person. The means of creating digital signature was at the time at the time of signing under the control of the signatory and not another without duress or undue influence. An alteration to the digital signature made after the time of signing is detectable. Okay, so it's authentic when we are able to satisfy this instance. Okay. Then it goes on to the validity of the signature. A person may sign an electronic record by affixing a personal digital signature or using any other recognized, secure, verifiable mode or signing as agreed by the parties and recognized by industry to be safe. I like this one. Recognized by industry to be safe, reliable, and acceptable. So we don't leave it for into the wind for people to just anybody to just choose whether it is reliable or acceptable. It has to be. It has to be what. As I said, it has to be verifiable and by the signing parties and then recognized by industry to be safe, reliable, and acceptable. Okay. Okay. So let's continue. Please, if you have chance, download it and then go through it. Is there anything covering something now, or it's okay? You can see.
Yes, it's covered. Please.
Hello, class. Can I go
Hello,
ahead?
Prof.
I've shared my
Hello,
screen.
Prof.
We still can.
Hey, this thing has
We
happened again.
can see.
Is it better?
Yes, please, it's better now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've now seen what it is. It is the sharing screen. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't cover the whole. I understand. I now see what it is. It's the sharing screen. That highlighted line, whether green or blue or yellow for you, or it shows around the figure that you are sharing. Sometimes it's not fully developed. It only shows at the top. I've just realized it, and I think it's the sharing screen. I was doing a feature that allows you to choose which part of the screen to share, but I've stopped it. I don't know why it's still working there. Franklina, oh, good to hear from you again. Let's go.
Good morning,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Sir, please,
Good morning.
these policies, do they all have to be written down to be recognized or kind of like legal? Because I'm asking because when I was in the banking industry, for withdrawals, we used to accept both signatures and then thumbprints for customers who could thumbprint, like the elderly people. And then an issue happened, and we were all asked that if a customer wants to thumbprint, we should make sure that the branch head is present and witness to the thumbprint. That makes sure that the customer is the one thumbprinting. But I'm not sure if it was written down or anything. So do policies have to be basically written before they are legal or acceptable?
Okay, so what you are talking about is a mixture of things. First of all, the legality of authenticating that the person who is accessing the account is part of banking procedure. Number two, the spreading of the risk is also an issue. When you to avoid and prevent people who are employees to let others are just come there and then they say that oh it is him and then use their discretion to just get access to people's account, we have to make sure that the responsibility is coming from the highest level. And that's why they are asking for the bank manager to be there, especially for arbitrary stuff. Because you're saying that they used to have a policy that they just use the tampering to do that. But it's not that maybe there was abuse happening. So to prevent abuse, they may instigate a rule. Listen, I said a rule to be able to do so. And a rule can be set up at a technical level. And the technical level does not mean that it has to go as high as the board level. So the board said that the board has given you other mandates to make sure that anybody who is buying is accessing an account is a person. That's why we do even signature. That's why we do even Ghana card ID and everything. But now what they are trying to do is that And it could be that at the level of the bank manager has instituted it so that he can minimize his risk. Because the other one, which has nothing to do with IT, is still enforced that anybody that is accessing account should be verified and see that it is. The means of verification may be the different ones you talked about earlier. Good. So it could be coming from the fact that he is trying to minimize the risk or spread the risk so that it comes to him, and he's assured that everything like that is actually going to is actually the is who the person says he is. Then it means that he has put in the measure to be able to establish so that you see when there's a breach that happens, even if there's something will happen, it comes to an employee like let's say employee called Jemima. Jemima could be reprimanded, but the person who will lose more is the head of the bank or the local branch. He could even be transferred or demoted, especially when this such an issue happens. So that means that you should have seen some of this going and then institute measures to be able to minimize the risk. And that's what I think the person had done, especially when he has not shown me any documentation that says that there is the policy, what the policy says. Yeah. Okay. Please, is that understandable?
Yes, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. The another one which is quite interesting is the overdraft policy. Overdraft is designed to address the risks associated with overdrafts, including responsibility to communicate the policy to the customer, payment or return of items, collection and charge off and account closings, and error resolution and reporting. There are overdraft may be a policy in the organization in terms of the amount of overdraft and who qualifies for overdraft, but implementing it and money and making sure it's efficiently delivered is an IT service. Because it's an IT service, whenever we are doing developing the policy, we ensure that the business processes that have to allow the or facilitate the overdrafts is actually supported by the IT infrastructure or the IT services unit, so that there is a the sort of coherent support for each other, and then the effect that you are expecting as a seamless delivery of the service is actually achieved. Okay, so the next example is the SANS security policy or templates. I think the heading I've repeated two things. Now, the SANS security policy resource page is a platform that actually gives you a set of different policy templates that are relevant to the organization.
Prof, please describe it again.
Okay. Is it better? Is it better now?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Good. Mhm. The first one is acceptable, the general policy, acceptable encryption policy, acceptable use policy, ethics policy, pandemic response policy, password construction guidelines, security response plan policy, end user encryption key protection policy, email policy, data signature acceptance policy. So these are general ones that govern behavior. Then there are ones that look at the network layer. Acquisition assessment policy, Bluetooth baseline requirements, remote access policy, remote access tools policy, router and switch security policy. Then you can go on to also show the server-based ones. That for the server, the database security policy, the database credentials policy, technology equipment disposal policy, information logging standard, workstation security, and then software installation policy. Then from there, go to the application security. Application security has the web application security policy. And there are other applications, some of them which are old, like antivirus guidelines. But at the end, the old and the retired shows that there have been all these policies have been in the organization before, but maybe currently they are not in play. Okay, but the SANS resource page is just to give you templates. Then you can download the templates and modify it to suit your organization. So usually when students are developing policies, they actually come to a place like this and choose them. Now, in our video, we were able to understand that it looks like there's no one policy that can cover everything. True or false?
True, sir.
Good. Victor, you're saying something. Yeah.
Hello, Prof. Is there a full meaning to the sans?
Yes, I think so. Let
Okay.
me open the link they gave us. I think I've forgotten it. Mhm. So SANS is the name of the company, and let me just share the page.
I think you have the black screen again, the gray.
No, no, I know that I've seen that one. I'm actually sharing something different. Okay, is it better now? So this is the SANS website. Have you seen it?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
Yes,
please.
Prof.
So they have all these policies are there. So you enter the name of the meaning of the SANS. It's actually an institute. I don't know. It's an acronym for the institute, but the ESCAL Institute of Advanced Technologies. Okay, SANS Institute. System admin, audit, network, and security. That's it. And the structured software
Okay, Prof.
cyber training. Yeah. So are we okay? System admin, audit, network, and security. So these are the things they cover. Okay. So if you go to their page, they have got their free resources. That's policy templates. You see them there. You can download them. So let's pick one of them, which is 2026 Privilege Account Management Policy. There's a Word version, there's a PDF version. Well developed. Okay, the PDF, good. So this is the template, the PDF version. Oh, sorry. No, I was actually. So this is it. Sanctions, safeguards, and then purpose code, the safeguards, and then the sanctions. That's all for this one. Okay, now you have seen it, so I can move on to another one. Okay. Yes, I saw some hand up. Can we see it now?
No, Prof.
No,
No,
please.
Prof.
Today I'm okay, so you can see now. This is a classroom technology standards policy. Standard standards that have been set for Western Michigan University. What should be in a classroom and what should not be in a classroom, or how classroom technology should be deployed and installed. At the level one, they talk about the general. Please, can you see it? I should
Yes.
zoom. I should zoom in a
sir.
little bit.
Yes, please, Prof. Zoom in a little bit.
Is it okay?
Yes,
Yes,
Prof.
sir.
Good. Thank you very much. And thank you for nudging me every time it goes up. It's the right thing to do. Okay, so don't think you're disturbing me. So we have the general equipment list, which has to do with the one security manual, screen manual 16 by 10 format, the type of screen, HD LCD projector, ceiling mounted. So they are even specific of where it should be. Resting touch panel. It's like that thing that you see on the table and when you go to the class in any of the rooms in the graduate block, the lecture rooms. You see that there is a table that has some computing gadgets on it that you use to control the screen. Yeah. So that one is a Creston touch panel, and then you may also have an LCD input monitor, classroom technology station, voice over IP two-way communication using three internet connections, a control system, a Blu-ray player, an AG document camera, an audio system. Then they give the specifications of how for the AVs in terms of the screens. So this is a standard because it's actually very specific to suit e-learning or support e-learning in the institution. Then they also have another example is what we saw earlier, Rule 08 EM.01. Authority, the one who puts into authority is Campus Information Security Group. Now, it was first issued in December 2024. It has not been renewed or revised since that. Now, it relates to other policy called the Mass Email Policy, Computing Resources Acceptable Use Policy. And we may have set other additional references that has to do with email rules. If you have any information that you want to share, contact this email address. So it goes through the purpose, the scope, the rule statements, the definitions, the justification, enforcement, the reference is put here again, and the document action. What the next revision date or the next day for them to look at it again. Okay. Then you can also have a password policy that will govern the password creation in the banking sector, and then it will give you direction on how to do your passwords. A password should be unique with meaning only to the employee who uses it. All these are discussed. Protecting your password. Email employees may never share their passwords with anyone else in the company. Employees may never share their password with any outside parties. See, and the employee should take steps to avoid phishing scams. Okay. Social media policy. Now, for some organizations, before they show the social media policy, they explain what the social media is and who the entrepreneur is. So those key concepts are important, and the different types of consents, misunderstanding. Employees have right to engage in concerted activities, anonymous and pseudonymous posts. Then harassment. Oh, harassment, interesting. Employees will invariably talk to and about each other via social media. Hence, a social media policy has to be acceptable behavior. Very good. Recruiting and hiring. So these are things that you have to take into consideration when you are developing a social media policy. Now that we have that one, we can look at that one for Adidas.
Okay.
So there's please familiar. So this is from Adidas. Adidas has this policy and they emphasize on what you should do and what you should not do. Now, what they have said in number 2, can somebody read it for us? It's actually very interesting. This one, can someone read it for us?
So please let me read. When you discuss Adidas Group or brand-related matters on the internet, you must identify yourself with your name and, when relevant, your role at the Adidas Group. Only very few people in this company are official spokesperson for the group or its brands. So if you are not one of them, you must make clear that you are speaking for yourself and not for the group. You can use a disclaimer like, the postings on this site are my own and do not necessarily represent the position, strategy, or opinions of the Adidas Group and its brands.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Now you read it yourself. What is fascinating about it to you? Or what strikes your mind?
It's very straightforward, and they don't want to use corporate jargons to be ambiguous. It's very, very straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Then this is the Reuters one. Reuters is a media house that likes news media house. And they also point out what is acceptable and what's not acceptable in reporting, especially through digital platforms. Like you said, headlines should be very clear when we have obtained information in an unorthodox settings. In stories, we must also make it clear and high up how we gather the information. Retain those facts high in the story as it plays out. The reader wants to know how we obtain the information. That's interesting. Some level of attribution coming to them. Fairness, the act of seeking confirmation, the act of seeking information of news before publishing can lead organizations to front run our story and announce the information before we have chance to put our story out. This does not relieve us from responsibility to give an understanding of to give an to confirm the information, which is true. Okay. So social media is quite complex and has quite a number of information in it. So spend time and then read it later when you have the book. Okay, I'll share this chapter later after the class. Then there's ID tech policy. From there, that is for a bank too. I think you have done enough bank. Then the technical requirements from a bank for their own website. What's required? Then code of conduct of a financial institution. What is expected of you? What you can do, what you cannot do. Okay. Now look at this one, code of conduct. There's one that is here, speaking up. You have the responsibility to speak up when you see behavior, a process, a system you are not comfortable with at work. This helps to maintain culture of strong ethics, integrity, and transparency. Please, what has this got to do with IT? Yes, please. Why do you think we have a speaking up there? That's yeah, Daniel, we're going to say something. Daniel, we're going to say something. Okay. Okay, so Redeemer, just take note of Daniel. Okay, Bernard Kweku Ufosu, we're going to say something.
Prof. Sorry, please, the Daniel, I think we are two, so I don't know which you are calling.
It's not you. The other one knows himself, Daniel Usa.
Okay, then after the one who raises, and I want to pass a comment.
Oh, then go ahead, Daniel Ati.
Yes, sir. Is concerning the Adidas issue, the one that Dinah read. I feel I am of the opposite view with Dinah because Dinah was saying it's straightforward, but I think it's not straightforward because it leaves room for breaches.
Yeah.
Because they are saying that if you are speaking for your own behalf, you should put a disclaimer. But social media, as we see it now, if I work from the office of the president and I'm not a spokesperson, and in this era, I should go on social media and let's say currently they are saying the Chief Justice is being seen in public and political spaces too much. And because of this phrase, I go on social media and said, oh, this comment is coming from me as a person, but not a government position. And I speak on that issue. Any effect it will have, it will come back to that office. So I think that their policy, I see it not to be well couched.
Then at least you can bring your other perspective.
Thank you.
Yes,
So
yes.
the reason I said it's very clear is because they are emphatic. If you are speaking for yourself, mention your name. And this is mainly on a legal term. So that when anything, if you recall, some time ago there was a company that had challenges and an employee said something. And you know how the social media people act. They quoted that employee. The company said this person is speaking on their own and not a reflection of the company itself. So if you say, well, because I work there, you have and you are a sense of authority in that company. So because of that, whatever you say, it is a fact, then you'll be wrong. So internally, let me put this in my company. Internally, you could be fired for going out there to say things on social media. So in as much as there are things that maybe you don't agree with, you are not the spokesperson of the company. I think last week, Prof touched on something of xenophobia and all that. I am not the spokesperson for the company. I dare not even mention it. And if I go and then mention it and then act like I'm an authority, I could be fired. So unless maybe there are not proper policies or proper laws in the company and everybody does whatever they want, knowing the consequences, I think that is a clause that if you're an employee, you have to take note of. So that is where I am coming from, saying that this is very clear. Thank you.
Okay, so ideally, an organization has the right to be able to give a governance on what its employees can do on social media or not, especially within the office hours. That's one. Number two, organizational reputation is built over time, and somebody may have invested a lot in their reputation. So that's why the organizations establish public relations officers and spokespersons to speak on behalf of the organization. But sometimes somebody may hold a sensitive position. And that person should also know that because of the sensitivity of your role in the organization, you have to be aware that sometimes, even out of context, people can actually just place what you are saying as attributing it to the organization. So it is important that you do proper management internally of who can talk, who cannot talk. And then you actually put in the structure so that the company's view is known from the official source. Is that understood? I've seen Franklina and Bernard. Bernard, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Prof. You mentioned my name concerning the speaking up policy. So for me, the only thing that comes in mind is the human end user management when it comes to the speaking up policy.
The human what?
Human end user management.
Okay.
Yes.
But that, what has that one got to do with the IT?
So because of the human end user management, IT has to do with human. We can form all the policies, have all the standards, but then we need to have a governance when it comes to the people who use the softwares or the hardware that we have put in place.
Okay. But technically, it also shows that when IT, and when you say speaking up, you are responsible to speak up when you see behavior, a process or system you are not comfortable with. IT can be used to create the appropriate anonymous way of speaking up or appropriate protected way of speaking up without identifying the person who spoke it to the whole organization. Yeah, Redeemer, your hand is up.
Yes, please. I just wanted to contribute.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. So an example would be like data entry. So you are going through data of what, let's say, your company handles, and then you see an error or abnormalities or things that are not supposed to be in the data fields. You can draw the consents of appropriate authorities by speaking up.
Very, very true. I saw Fabrina's hand up too. Very, very true.
Yes, Prof. I was going to speak on the Adidas one. I was going
Go
to
ahead. We are
agree
discussing.
with
So we are still on the
yes,
same
please.
issue. Yes.
Okay, so I agree with Dinah that it is very clear. The company is making it very clear that any liability that comes from anything you post on social media falls on you personally if you are not one of the people identified as the spokespersons of the company. So even if you do not put a disclaimer there, they put a clause that only a few people are identified spokespersons. So if you know you're not one of them, whatever you say, the liability falls on you, and you shouldn't expect the company to defend you or help you.
Thank you. Yeah. One more coming on. Danati.
Yes, sir. I still want to, the Adidas issue, I still want to make another example what I think is too ambiguous and too open. I think early last year, when a board member of Bank of Ghana, the MP, Adongo, when he went on air to say that Bank of Ghana will stop, I think, dollar withdrawals. Immediately, the public took it up. He wasn't speaking for Bank of Ghana. He was speaking for himself. But if Bank of Ghana should have not come out immediately to issue a disclaimer that they don't intend to do anything like that, it will have a negative impact on the bank and the banking industry as a whole. So for me, looking at it from a risk, or I don't know if a risk or
Yeah, I
legal
understand it.
perspective, I think it's too open. Because if you said I should disclaim and I said, oh, I'm speaking this on behalf of myself, and internally you even sack me or you terminate my appointment, I can take you on that I was speaking per policy. We have this, and I've made a disclaimer. So any effect it has on the company, I cannot be held liable. That's why I am saying it's too
Okay,
open.
so what they have said is that I don't think you actually we have read everything. So let's be fair with them. Look at this one, for example. Common sense is a huge factor here. Common sense. You understand it?
Yes.
Everything you publish should be visible to the world for a very, very long time. This is actually, I didn't paraphrase, this is actually taken from the page.
Yes.
If you're about to publish something that makes you even the slightest bit uncomfortable, review. If you are still unsure and it's related to Adidas Group and its brand, talk to your manager or corporate communications officer. The contacts are below. Just because information is on the internal network, like IDWeb, DASNet, or Vision Asia, it's not okay to let the rest of the world know about it. If an item features a sentence for internal use only, then it's exactly what it means, and it's absolutely not meant to be forwarded to anybody. Okay, this has to do with the type of information. So what we are trying to emphasize is a common sense. So common sense. Common sense plays a key role. Common sense plays a key role. So please, let's apply the common sense that they have said, the common sense principle here. And I think that is what Adongo should have maybe done. Because that's why Bank of Ghana came back to come and do it. Because he didn't do it he may not have intentionally erred, but it affects them. So they have to come and defend themselves as soon as possible. Because of the sensitivity of the role that he is holding. Is that okay? Does this now bring ceasefire? Okay, then Archie, please go ahead.
Oh, I've lowered my hand though. I'm okay. But I just still see it to be too open because it leaves room for legality. Because if this policy should cause my dismissal in an organization, I'll take them on. Because I would say I was speaking on my own behalf and not on the company's behalf.
Yes. That's why I say common sense is a huge factor here. So you should think about it. If you do that and after that our stocks go down by $2 million, is it because speaking on your own behalf? If our stock go down, we all not losing. How will we get money to pay you? So common sense is a huge factor here. They have also put the caveat here so that think about it carefully. Common sense. Unless common sense is also difficult for them to understand, the person who is doing it to understand.
Yes, they should have just prevent that common sense.
No, they don't do that. In the US, even that's more difficult to do. You can't just prevent staff from doing that. People have got freedom of speech, but your freedom of speech ends when somebody's own to start. If you have watched many of the American movies, they explain to you your freedom ends when someone's own also starts. And there's also code of conduct in terms of behavior. This is just one document. If you do anything that also by your action puts and affect the reputation of the company, it can take you on. That one is even University of Ghana's own. That even if you do something personally and by your action, for example, a time ago, I'm just using as an example. Some time ago, they said somebody was supposed to be a chief in University of in his village, and he didn't want to do it or something like that. And they woke up one morning, I think either on campus or something like that, so there were fetish sprays and all kinds of things from the person's hometown on the premises of campus to come and carry the person away. And it created a very big issue. I hope you understand, because this university's environment, there are students here, the safety of the students, It has got implication on people that the university is very porous for all these kind of people to come in here, and the safety of individuals. But this is your personal thing that happened, and then it carried as your issues onto campus. There have even the other ones too. People who are quarreling their home and they start throwing things outside and stuff, and becomes a nuisance because if you have gone to where the lecturers live like this, they live very close to each other. So anything that you are doing in your house, another person can stand, and there's no wall. He can stand there and just watch it. So if you are getting a university accommodation, there are things that you even sign. You have to be very careful that your actions do not affect the institution and don't affect other people who are in the institution. Even if it's a personal action, and that one they can hold you responsible. So that I do you understand. So I'm just writing this point. This is just social media, but there is other code of conduct that may be also. They say familiarize yourself with the following, with and follow the Adidas Group Code of Conduct and global policy manuals. This one is just about the web, but there are other things that will imply. And he says, look for example, look at this one. Please consider that even anonymous postings on Wikipedia can be traced back to the company. Even anonymous posting on the internet, people can actually trace it back to the company, to the institution. Okay. Thank you very much. But Daniel, did you say you work in the office of the president?
No problem. I was just making an example that certain situations will not allow this to be effective to me. And even what you just stated, the concluding part that even anonymous posts can be traced to the company, I think they should have just avoided all this. That's my point of view.
No, how will you avoid all these things? You can also prevent people from having their being on social media. It's not done that way.
So, so they could have just made a point that once you are not part of those allowed to speak for and on behalf of the company, you are not allowed to, like, you don't.
But that one is there. You are not allowed to do anything on about the company. You cannot actually say anything. For example, the postings on the site are on my own and do not necessarily represent the position and opinions of Adidas Group and the brands. Please always write in the first person. Do not use your company email address for private communications. That's what they're saying. You can't discuss things on. When you discuss Adidas Group or brand-related items on it, you must identify yourself with your name and relevant role and Adidas Group. Only very few people in this are official spoken. Official. So let me just give an example. Supposing I said we sell let me use something which is not Adidas so that you can let's say suppose I work in Melcom. And then people are talking about my Melcom product. Maybe a new iron and Melcom has released. When I come there to defend Melcom, I have to be able to state whether I'm in, according to what certain policies like this one mean, and many organizational policies. The internet requires you that you have to let us know, or if you go to the UK, European Union, the European Union Privacy Act requires you that you disclose the organization if it's related, the product you are discussing is you are related to it. Whether you're not the official spokesman, you have to disclose. The reason is that sometimes it can sway consumers to it becomes like PR. You are intentionally forcing people to come and buy your product. So you need to say that there's transparency. Transparency is the key here. Yeah. Number two, people have got their First Amendment right to be able to speak. But what you have to do is you are leading them towards responsible speaking. So in the UK Army, I don't have it here, but in the UK Army, for example, when the social media started earlier, you could actually sign up that you want to use your social media page to promote the army for a year. And they allow you. So you go for training and anything that you do, you can use to promote. So like posting things that will push that the army is doing well. Some of your maybe if they have required, they encourage you to post some of your pictures on training and stuff. And you are not actually giving opinions, but you are also using to promote the good activities of the army. You can use your page and you'll be commended for that. So some organizations also do use a different route. where they actually use commendation and support so that responsible behavior is actually seen. I don't think in this my book I had it inside. I had it in another article I was writing. Yeah. Okay. Social media policies are very fluid, and many organizations in the beginning were just testing what was possible. And many this policy like this was an old policy. This book was 20. This policy was done. Let me see if I check the reference. Let me check the edit citation. I'm hoping that it can open it for me. But if I look at the date, I believe that is. Oh, sorry. Now they are telling me, ouch, I'm going to affect the mind. Let me stop. Okay. If I go to the end of the book, it should tell me a reference that I have there. So 13. Adidas Group. So this is 2017. So you can, in fact, I said in 2017, but it's 2011. So by now, different ones would have come, which may have catered for what you are saying. It was developed, but I assessed it in 2017. The first book was written in 2018 anyway. The first version of this book was written in 2018. Anyway, so please, I beg you, let's appreciate that what you are saying is true. Maybe companies may have now that a lot of people are learning, they may have adapted it to suit other perspectives. But some companies don't have this crowd. Let me just check. All of you who are here, how many companies have something like this? Daniel, you yourself, does your company have anything like this?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Then if it's public, please share it with us so we can learn from it. What company is it?
Yeah,
If you can
unless
see.
I check. Okay, it's not allowed. I can't share.
What company is it?
It's the central bank.
Bank of Ghana.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Next time you talk to your boss that your lecturer who writes on these things would like to review their policy, some of their policies and give feedback, honest feedback. That's all. I'm not giving it to anybody, so they can give me a hard copy one. That one is not electronic, and I will look at it and give them feedback on what is happening currently.
I will do my best, sir.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much from the perspective. Your perspective is well received. We're looking at other ones too. So let's continue. Okay. Okay, so code of conduct for a financial institution. Okay, so I think maybe this one too will be helpful. You are individually responsible complying with the spirit, not just the letter. So maybe Daniel, this may be helpful too. You should comply with the spirit, not just the letter of the laws and the regulations. The spirit is protect us. The spirit is to make sure that at the end of the day you don't do something that will end up affecting our reputation. So you should comply with the spirit. I like this statement. Comply with the spirit. Anyway, then bring your own device policy. Bring your own device programs call for three critical components: a software application for managing the device, a written policy for both the employer and the users, an agreement that users must sign. The idea is that you bring your own device to the organization, and then they may install software on it to allow you to use it. Where I was in Manchester, you can bring your own device, but the MAC address of the device has to be entered into a university system. Otherwise, the university network will not work, software will not work. If you want to use anything from the university, your MAC address, that's your unique identification for that's your device, your computer or your tablet, will have to be entered into an institution. And you can enter only two devices at a time to control abuse. Okay. So company XYZ grants its employees the privilege of purchasing and using smartphones and tablets of their choosing at work for their convenience. But the company reserves the right to revoke that privilege if the users do not abide by the policies and procedures. So in the acceptable part, the company defines acceptable business use as activities that directly or indirectly support the business of company XYZ. Okay. So the devices may not be used at any time to store or transmit illicit materials, harass others, engage in other business activities. The following apps are allowed, include a detailed list of apps, such as weather, productivity apps, Facebook, which may be permitted. So they have the apps. Then allows apps not allowed, apps not downloaded through iTunes or Google Play. Good. That means that third-party apps that you have to jailbreak your phone to use it, they are not allowed. Employees may use their phone device to access the following company-owned resources: email, calendars, contacts, and documents. This is an open one for this particular institution. I'm not saying that it applies to everybody. Company XYZ has a zero tolerance policy for texting and emailing while driving. Interesting. And only hands-free talking while driving is permitted. So they even cover these things. Okay. Okay, so this one was then acceptable use policy. So this is taken from a template, a security policy template from SANS. So this OT company policy, information security, the number, the effective date. So some policies have got all of these identification of the policy. That tells you the date it was defined, the date it was revised, the status, and then the number. And to start with an introduction of the company and the purpose of the policy. Then it goes to the roles and responsibilities. And they even tell that this one tells you what the directives are. So they start with part one, acceptable use management requirements, then the ownership, then acceptable use requirements, then individual use, enforcement, auditing, and reporting. Then you can look at the different types in terms of references for it. Control and maintenance. Then there's a network connection policy. This is from Brown University. This policy is designed to protect the campus network and the ability of members of the Brown community to use. The purpose of the policy is to define the standards for connecting computer servers and other devices to the Brown University network. So then they define the scope, they go to the appropriate connection methods, then the network registration, security standards, protection of the network, quite very detailed. And at the end, if you have an issue, who to contact. Okay. Then web publishing guidelines. So the web publishing guidelines would also tell you what you can do on the web, what can be published on the web, and what you should follow. Content guidelines, what content is acceptable. Good. Now, this is a very fluid one because currently content is now about video too. But most of the old content guidelines were just about text and not too much about video and audio and text and pictures and images or photos. So now every content guideline, or policy organization would look at the different types of content. So look at this one. First step, before any programming begins, is to determine what the organization needs and wants the website to do. This is about developing website. Beautiful websites can be created with flashing icons, dynamic colors, and interesting text. However, if the content does not meet the needs of the organization, the value is at best limited. Everyone has visited a website that is difficult to navigate, where one has to spend a great deal of time clicking around the site, where links to other sites do not work. Without guidelines, and a quality control process. Problems like this are inevitable. The organization to develop a clear process for deciding what and how when new materials are posted to the website, including whether an approval procedure is needed for new websites and pages. The procedure may be as simple as a request for space on the organization server, or it may be more complex process involving a formal review of proposed websites and pages and prior to approval. And then what and how we can be able to use the websites appropriately and responsibly. So, in effect, there are several types of policies. There are several types of policies, and our objective here is not to say that one policy is better than the other, but we understand that policies is like an architecture. You bring different components together to be able to hold the organization. There's not one policy that can solve all the organizational issues or can address all what the organization needs. It will come from a holistic effort of considering so many other policies that could be there. Good. Okay. Now, what we have learned right now is that we saw it. When we pick each of the policies, we see there's a purpose, there's a scope, policy statements, roles and responsibilities, definitions. I think the definitions come between just after the purpose, and then there's or the scope. There's enforcement. Then there are references and related policies, and then version and review history. So this is all that you see in a policy. Now, let me just pick some UG policies and then we wrap up. I'll pick one, the AI policy of the new AI policy of UG, and I'll share it with you guys. Mhm. So you can open it. I'll share it with you. So this is the policy on the use of artificial intelligence at the University of Ghana, April 2026. So there's a preamble, the purpose of the policy, and looks at response other things that we expect to do. So the scope, students, faculty members, teaching assistants, visiting scholars, external partners. So they start with the definitions. The simulation of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems, including learning, reasoning, problem solving, and perception. Okay, then the machine learning, then generative AI. So the guiding principles, ethical use and integrity. I want you to see some things here. I saw something I was very interested in. Okay, good. Look at this. Then can you read it for us?
Okay. Literature review and brainstorming. The university permits that the use of AI tools to gather scholarly sources, generate lists of relevant research papers, or brainstorm ideas for assignments and projects. For instance, AI might help by suggesting potential research questions or outlining differing viewpoints on a topic. Students must critically evaluate all AI-generated suggestions, verify facts using credible academic sources, and ultimately craft their own arguments and conclusions.
Okay, so what does it say? What does it mean?
Well, am I answering?
Oh, you can answer. You say your own before Daniel or anybody comes in.
Okay, so it's not saying don't use AI, but it's saying that you can use it for suggestions and then also for helping you build your argument, but not necessarily doing it for you.
Okay. Who else? Who has another view? Or also, somebody says A. Yes, Salom.
Okay, so from my understanding, it means use the AI ethically. So don't just copycat. So when you get the response from AI, try and humanize it. Get the concept from AI and use your own understanding from what they gave you. Humanize it before you produce finally, not just copycat or dump everything that the AI just um, uh, gave you.
Okay,
That's
I
what
didn't
I
hear you very
understand.
well. But Sandra,
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
am I allowed now?
You let Sandra come. I think some of them
Okay.
heard you, but I did my
Okay,
lecture.
so
Mhm.
Prof, what I also got from this is that when you generate suggestions from the AI, because of the hallucination sometimes AI can give, it's important that whatever feedback you get when you do your or you try to get information, try to verify to make sure that they are actually true, because some are hallucinated before you use them for your main work. So that is what I picked. Hello, Prof.
Yes, I've heard you.
Okay.
I agree with what you have said. But I'm just letting you know that the students are going to interpret it in a very interesting way. So now it means that everybody can use AI when they are doing HR review. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, please, let's be honest too.
Yes, bro.
Okay. But it is about the way you output it. Oh,
And then
okay then. Thank you. Daniel, go ahead. Mhm.
Prof, I think what I wanted to say is what you just said, that they are just saying we can use AI tools, but it should be used responsibly, as Selom was saying, that we should
Okay.
humanize it. But the policy itself looks like even it was generated by AI, because I can see an AI
I
element in
better go. This one day, I know the members who worked on it. We're going for meetings a lot. I know. Oh, maybe the final writing is at there. Okay. If I then remember, I don't know what was this group. We are looking at the teaching policy and we saw mistakes in it. The table of content has not that's not connected with the content, and then some of the content is repeated, the headings are repeated, and the university has passed that one, the teaching and learning policy. But the AI policy there, if it's written by AI, there we are in trouble. Hmm. Okay. This one I leave for Grassak to go and argue and come and tell us. Okay. Maud, please go ahead. Maybe they use the AI for this part, spelling check and editing after they wrote. Yeah, Mal, go ahead so that I can wrap up.
Sir, please, some professors in universities in the US um put their works in AI, and AI detected it as written by AI, but these works were done
Yes. So the now the difficulty I happen is that
pre-AI era. And then um these professors are arguing that their works were used to train AI. And so if AI is now telling them that their old works from 2015 were AI generated, then AI has an issue.
AI has what?
AI has an issue. Sorry, my background is not.
Yes, AI has an issue. So turn it in. I think turn it in has now switched off their AI detector because it was giving false positives. Because the way AI writes and does the detection, it is a particular type of formula, and if you know it, you can go around it. But the formula does not mean that somebody cannot write that way. Human beings can write in different ways. They think that a human being writes in not a consistent manner, but the AI too can write not in a consistent manner. This is not the best session for it, but there's a website that explains how AI writes. But the detection is a problem. If you are looking at how the AI writes and you're using to do the detection, it will surprise you that a lecturer can write something like that and not with the mind of trying to beat the AI, but that's how he wrote. And if you don't take care, you think that sometimes they even say they use of specific words. But who told you that somebody with a good English language library cannot use those words? So there's a lot of error in that area, and it's not perfect. So now what they are doing is that they are trying to embed what they call a digital signature in what they have written. You will not be able to detect it. So no matter what they do, whether it's humanized by it's humanized or not humanized, they will put a digital signature to know that this one came from Claude, this one came from maybe Kimi, this one came from Gemini or any other one. That's what they are trying to do now. But if you do that one too, and you give it to companies like Turn It In and stuff, somebody to also go and give it to another company, and then the company will also put in do something for you to eliminate those things. So it's like it's like a virus and antivirus. Sometimes people argue that the viruses are created by the same antivirus companies so that they can stay in business. Please, I want to know if UG has this kind of detailed policies as other international police universities have looked today. Oh, okay. Let's look at if you look at some of their policies, they say they have some, but I don't know whether all of them are made available. So, for example, if you look at the teaching and learning policies, they said, let me just use this one. This is a teaching and learning policy. So, the teaching and learning policy, they refer to another set of related policies. So, they say the academic quality assurance policy, graduate student handbook. So, the IT ones are here. Information and technology, communication technology policy, June 2022. I have to go and ask for it. I have not seen it before. The online teaching and learning guideline 2022, policy on plagiarism and regulations for junior and student facilities, research policies. Some of the policies are within a particular unit. So the unit is the one that you have to check them for those policies. So for example, if we go to UG website, okay, so if you they have a page for I think, let me just check here. Usually it's under HR. The website has been changed so many times that sometimes when you go to tell, let me see if I can find it. Now it's not very easy for you to locate them. They used to have the, let me see here. Anita, you have a question. Please go ahead.
Yes, Prof. Please, I wanted to find out if the school's AI policy talks about the extent to which students can use the AI tools, like how they have for plagiarism, which is 20%.
Wow. We said if the school's AI policy has what?
If there is a specific percentage or limit to which students can use the AI tools, like that's of the
No,
plagiarism.
I don't. But how will you determine the percentage? I don't know. That one I don't know. But is
Okay,
there plagiarism that has a percentage that you shouldn't go above? I think is it 20?
20%. Yes,
Yes,
please.
and that each line should be less than 2%. The line by line. That's what I know. When I'm
Thank
here
you.
right now, I can't even find where the policy usually the usual policies used to be somewhere underneath the about usually. And now they have changed the website so much that I can't even identify them. But if you type, I think let me just type it in YouTube. If you type H word or H word or UG policies. Okay, it's under public affairs. So these are the policies. Okay, they are all here. Quite a number of them are here. Not all of them. So quality assurance. Let me share the link so that those of you who want to download the policies, you could actually download them. Code of conduct for radio universe, customer service, and gender, disciplinary board, academic programs. The information technology policy is here. So I have an innovation policy, international travel, marketing communications, plagiarism policy too is here. The new ones have not been put here. The AI and stuff have not been put here. Okay. The sports policy, housing policy, revised housing policy. Okay, so if you look at it, there's the IT policy. So it has got the acceptable use policy inside, the email policy, the UG website policy, bring your device policy, IT procurement policy. So it covers a few of them, not all of them. Then security guidelines for all. Okay. Then it also has the innovation policy. I don't think that one is about IT, it's just about just innovation. Then the plagiarism policy. This one you need it. So when you go there, download it. And then marketing communications for innovation. Then the last one has to do with okay, no, I think I'm done. I've covered all of them. So the marketing policy may look at some of the web, look at University of Ghana video and photography permission, worldwide standards, social media standards. Okay, so I think we have enough here. I've seen that the policies exist. The IT policy, unfortunately, doesn't cover a lot, as the lady asked, the question that she asked. It covers some of the things, but not all, as much as detail that we looked at. Thank you. So use that one to get the policies that so you can be able to know them. Those of you who wanted to know the policies. So thank you very much. If there's no other question, then we call it a day here. Very good session. We have the latter part has engaged us to brought some things out for us to learn from. Interesting discussions on policy. So, so we'll meet with you next time.
Thank you,
Yeah, we'll
Prof.
see you at
Thank you,
seminar.
Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay.